Hello there. It's mail time again, and Bricklink came through. In particular, these guys, Baxter's Bricks, super speedy delivery, and finally, we have those windows. Now that's more like it. This is what we were waiting for. Fully complete on the front now. Oh, that's the view we were after. The park's not brilliant, but it's certainly an improvement now that front fascia of the buildings is complete. However, there is one thing we need to think about. This is only the front side. Now, my main interests in LEGO are usually vehicles and architectural builds, exteriors mostly. But with Harry Potter being my favourite theme, the interiors and the added details they put in these sets are brilliant. It does, however, come at a cost to have such a condensed playset. This extendable earpiece accessory is fantastic, but it is just draping across the outside of the build. And this stickered piece, an essential part to the hallway in the Black House, is such a shame to be just hidden at the back of one side. The same goes for this kitchen scene. It's not really geographically correct to the house, and neither are any of the other rooms in the house. But let me make it clear, this isn't a criticism of the set. It's all to accommodate the mechanism, and I can understand that. But having already thrown money at the problem in giving this set 2 extra neighbours, I think there's definitely room for some improvements, and definitely some space to use to improve the interior on the back of this set. There are 2 obvious approaches for where we can put our new interiors. The first being this 4x8 section that's uninterfering with the mechanism of the set. We could definitely create new interiors that sit behind the facade of the houses. We can then use the central column running up through the middle of Grimmauld Place to create a proper hallway stairway set. However, the second option uses these guys. With a bit of creativity, I think it's probably possible to use these sections to complete the existing rooms, and maybe have split interiors that move with the mechanism and kind of complete the side rooms. As you can see, the rooms would align perfectly and the mechanism would still be functional. We could literally split room interiors in half. I think this is definitely the more interesting of the 2 ideas. Certainly a little bit more technical, but it will use the available space we already have without covering over those original facades. I think we'd mathematically also gain more square studdage, if you like, by using this method. It would definitely give us an opportunity to relocate these rooms either side of the hallway in the centre and make one of those grand staircases for the Weasley twins to deploy their extendable ear. Anyway, for any of that to happen, we're definitely going to need to order some more parts. So for now, let's take a little sidestep for a while and work on a new mock that I've kind of started 2 or 3 times already, but I'm now starting to get a finalised version of. Don't worry though, it's still definitely Harry Potter themed, and it's also London themed. That should be enough of a clue to tell what it is. I'm afraid I haven't got a build montage or a time-lapse for this one. As I say, I have rebuilt this 2 or 3 times in sections, trying to get the geography right to work with a bigger layout. Hopefully these intervals will give you enough of an overview of what's going on. And yeah, if you haven't guessed it yet, this sign should give it away. Like most people, when I got my Diagon Alley set, this was the first mock that I started to tinker with. The main constraints I set myself were to get the visuals of the movie version and also get some sort of geography where it can join to the Diagon Alley set and also have a street on the opposite side. In the films we see 2 versions of the Leaky Cauldron. One is obviously the facade I've got here, which is in Philosopher's Stone when Hagrid takes Harry for the first time. But the other version in The Prisoner of Azkaban is kind of like a backdoor version, and it's under a underpass for a tube station, and that's the building down the back there. I'm always quite concerned about number of pieces and space that I use, so this version is quite a condensed version with a really small courtyard that just gives you enough of an idea of how you enter Diagon Alley. It was more important then to squeeze in some interior shots of the pub itself, which I've done almost movie accurate, although everything is kind of condensed down based on the geography of the build. The rest of the exteriors are very much up for interpretation. We don't ever see it in the films, so at this point there's still a bit of an experiment. But the Leaky Cauldron upper floors will go something like this, although I'll probably add another floor and maybe even change the window colour to a light grey just to balance the palette of colours a bit better. With the lower floor interiors just about planned out, it's now a matter of working out what to do with those upper floors. I really want to include an interior of Harry's room from The Prisoner of Azkaban, the one with the 4-poster bed and the Monster Book of Monsters. But at the moment it's just about fleshing out the building to work out what sort of space I've got to work with. At this point though, we are kind of approaching the right sort of height for the building. This red floor on top is very much a work in progress. And as I said, if I add another floor to the dark grey building of the Leaky Cauldron, I think that's probably about where I want to be. This red floor, however, is probably where Harry's room will be located, although the visuals just really aren't right at the moment. Certainly from the film, it's a much older building that Harry stays in, so I'll probably readjust the top floor to keep that one fascia on one side in the red brick, and then build a much older style building on the other side. Meanwhile, I've started to put an interior into the pub side of the building. At the back there, that tall slim window that hides behind the stairs in the movie is kind of representative of a Hogwarts window, like a tall stained glass type window, which I'll probably copy the build from the Hogwarts castle set to recreate that. Due to space, on the right hand side of the build, we've got those stone arches with the timber lintel, which is kind of where Harry goes to speak with Arthur in Prisoner of Azkaban about his godfather Sirius. Obviously, because of the size of the build, you can't get an extra section of pub through that wall, so it's just kind of a facade for it. But it has to be that way to give us this scene with Hagrid coming through the wall. We've then, at the very front of the pub, got another small area of seating to get another couple of minifigures in there, probably some generic witches or wizards. And then in the main room, we've got a large table, which is kind of one of those family breakfast table type scenes from the movies. And then on the left hand side, we've got a hatch for the bar area, again with a timber lintel. There's a better look at the fireplace. Those panels on the wall will probably be replaced with printed tiles or anything I can find Harry Potter related, maybe stickered pieces. And once we've got a little bit further and finalised the build, I can probably put a bar scene in the back of that pub area. Maybe a couple of taps and a barman. Right then, back outside on the opposite side, you can see a better shot of that exterior. That's the rear door into the pub that we see in Azkaban, where the night bus drops off Harry. And you can see that hint of the arches where a overground tube station would be. And then this is where I'll fit that stained glass window section once I've got some pieces for it. It's very much in the same style as the Hogwarts castle. I'm also quite inclined to swap out these windows for light grey ones. Like I said earlier, on the Leaky Cauldron side as well, it'll just simplify the colour palette a little bit. And there we have it. Hopefully you've enjoyed seeing the start of the Leaky Cauldron. There's a long way to go yet. So for now, see you on the next one.